Nobody warned Sabalenka. There was no meeting, no difficult conversation, no moment where someone looked her in the eye and said things were changing. One day, renewal talks were moving forward, and then quietly, without ceremony, they weren't. The call she was waiting for never came. And in the world of luxury brand partnerships, that kind of silence doesn't leave room for interpretation. It is the answer. This story has very little to do with what happened on a tennis court, and everything to do with what happened inside a boardroom, where a single strategic decision by a Swiss watch company may go down as either one of the smartest long-term investments in sports marketing history or one of the coldest betrayals of athletic merit we've ever seen. Either way, women's sports sponsorship may never look the same again. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to understand who Sabalenka is, because dismissing her makes the story smaller than it really is. She didn't just become good at tennis, she became something the sport produces maybe once every 15 years. A player so physically dominant, emotionally intense, and relentlessly aggressive that opponents weren't just trying to beat her, they were trying to survive her. By the end of 2024, she had won back-to-back Australian Open titles and added a US Open to her resume. She was world number one, the most dominant female player on the planet, and the commercial world knew it. Major brands surrounded her. Then things began to shift. Slowly at first, almost invisibly. Emails that once came quickly started arriving late. Conversations that had felt warm turned measured, careful, and distant. Anyone familiar with high-level negotiations knows that feeling. It's the sound a deal makes right before it dies. But no one said anything directly. The conversation slowed, then stalled, then stopped. Her team waited, but nothing came. And before they could even process the silence, the news broke publicly. The brand hadn't left tennis. They had chosen someone else. That someone was 18-year-old Alex Eala from Manila, a name the global sports business world is now learning fast. Born in the Philippines and trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Majorca, she reached her first Grand Slam main draw at just 18, becoming the first Filipino player in the Open era to do so. That wasn't just a milestone, it was history. Across Southeast Asia, the reaction was explosive. Headlines in Manila, social media lighting up across the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia, and millions of people watching not just a tennis match, but someone who looked like them stepping onto one of the sport's biggest stages and belonging there. The Swiss brand had been tracking all of it quietly and precisely for months. The reported deal was worth $300 million, but it wasn't a standard endorsement. It was a long-term partnership spanning 8 to 10 years, with layers that included co-designed product lines, regional campaigns targeting Southeast Asia, charitable initiatives tied to education in the Philippines, and performance bonuses mapped across her career. This wasn't just sponsorship. It was an investment in a future. They weren't buying what she had already done. They were buying everything she might become. The secrecy behind the deal was extraordinary, with initial contact happening through intermediaries, meetings in neutral locations, and strict non-disclosure agreements limiting knowledge to a small circle of executives. When the deal finally leaked, the reaction was immediate. Eala gained millions of followers within 48 hours. Engagement numbers surged, and in the Philippines, the announcement dominated national conversation for days. The fallout, however, was complicated. Inside Sabalenka's camp, the reaction was intense. Not disappointment, but anger. Losing a deal to another established champion would have been understandable, but losing it to a teenager with no major titles yet felt like a statement. There were even discussions about possible legal action, though nothing materialized. Across the tennis world, opinions split. Veteran players and established voices largely sided with Sabalenka, raising a difficult question. If winning at the highest level doesn't guarantee brand loyalty, then what does? What is performance actually worth? On the other side, younger players and voices from emerging markets saw the deal as a shift. For decades, regions like Southeast Asia had talent and passionate fan bases, but remained invisible to the global commercial system. This felt like proof that things were finally changing. At the center of all this is an 18-year-old navigating a level of global attention most athletes never experience. Not long ago, she was just a kid from Manila chasing a dream. Now she is a $300 million bet. The pressure that comes with that is real. But when you strip away the emotion and look at the numbers, the logic becomes clearer. Southeast Asia is home to around 700 million people, with one of the fastest growing consumer bases in the world. Young adults with rising incomes and increasing demand for premium products. Luxury markets in the region have been growing faster than traditional Western markets and are expected to keep accelerating through 2030. Tennis is growing there too, and when a local player breaks through, it transforms the sport from something distant into something personal. This deal reflects a broader shift in sports marketing, a move toward potential over legacy. Sabalenka's career is already historic, but much of her story has been written. ELS hasn't. For a company thinking a decade ahead, that matters. The most valuable version of an athlete may not be the one at the top, but the one still climbing, the one whose ceiling no one can yet define. That idea challenges how we think about success, but it is changing how money flows in sports. Sabalenka's legacy is permanent and untouchable, but Eala's story is just beginning. And one of the most calculated brands in the world has just placed a $300 million bet on what comes next. Whether that turns out to be visionary or a massive mistake, only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The rules have changed, and an 18-year-old from Manila is right at the center of it.